Hey, take a look at the fantasy impact of wide receivers since week 4. Pretty close to what you'd expect in terms of names on this list, with one notable exception: the Eagles' Travis Fulgham. He's got the 7th most fantasy points for the position since his arrival on the scene in week 4. My goodness, ahead of the likes of Julio Jones, Keenan Allen, and even DeAndre Hopkins. Let's get more insight on the Eagles right now from Warren Sharp of Rotoworld, a man who's been breaking down football with a keen eye for quite some time. Warren, we appreciate you being here. Let's dive right into it. Number one, are you a believer in Travis Fulgham, the football player? Is he here to stay long term in your eyes?
I think he is. I'm a definite believer. His skill set is very hard to replicate. The talent that he has there, I'm very impressed. I do think he's going to fall back a little bit into this offense and be incorporated a little bit more, and not have quite as much reliant upon him. We're going to see these other guys that are finally getting healthy that they've been without for so long, including Alshon Jeffrey and Jalen Reagor, be worked back in as the primary options here. But I do think he's very talented and he's an X factor. Playing that X wide receiver position is going to still be very productive, but with less volume as an Eagles receiver.
Yeah, I'm sure he's showing up on team scouting reports now, and game planning against him, he'll have to adjust for sure. Now, you've been in Carson Wentz's corner throughout his struggles in past seasons. Have you wavered at all based on what you've seen from him this year?
I can't admit that I haven't wavered. You know, there's got to be a little bit of waver to you if you're looking at Carson and some of the struggles that he has. But the one thing that's been consistent last year and this year is the lack of talent surrounding him. You look at his offensive line, they're down to like one starter. You look at his receiving core and all his receivers are out, all his tight ends are out. This is a team that wants to run a lot of 12 personnel, a lot of 2 tight end sets, and they haven't had either tight end healthy. So he's been dealing with a lot more than most quarterbacks around the league have to deal with. And the fact that he was still able to get his team to the postseason last year, and the team, although the record is bad, luckily the NFC East is even worse, they're in position to get to the postseason as well this season. There are some elements to his game that he needs to improve, right? He cannot continue to think that he can be the Brett Favre-esque, just I'm going to fit the ball into every window and make a big play every single time the ball is in my hand. Play within the offense, take what you need to take. I think part of what he was doing a little bit too much in 2017, you remember they went to the Super Bowl, they had to convert a lot of third downs. They had a very inefficient offense on early downs. So he was in these third and long situations. They were having to convert these, and he was doing a great job at playing Superman on all these third downs and keeping the chains moving. This year, the team is doing a little bit better on early downs. You don't have to be quite as much Superman on those early downs. And I think he has too much of a gunslinger mentality. Brain locks up at times. But overall, it's very hard to buy his talent. He's got a lot of talent when he's playing at the right potential that I still am a big fan of his, and I'm a believer in him. I'd like him to dial back a couple of things, but I still think he's a very big of an asset for the Eagles.
Let's talk about that talent a little more. Do you think he can still play at an elite level this season and reach that ceiling, and maybe from that 2017 year when he was in the MVP conversation?
I think he can, because if we look at the last couple of seasons, he's been banged up and injured. He's had various different injuries that he's had to work off of each off season for several years. This is the one season where he's entering camp. He was very healthy, and we see that on the field. He's actually running a lot more now, and that's a big benefit, because I think the mobility of a quarterback is something that's very underrated. Being able to, we know that passing is more efficient than running the football. Every time you drop back, you're going to have a higher upside than you are if you just hand the ball to your running back. But inevitably what happens is sometimes those receivers are covered. Sometimes pressure gets to you. Your ability to escape that and turn what would be a negative play into a positive is very valuable. So his wheels, they've been on display. I think he's healthy. I think he's going to close up well. Keep in mind, he's been dealing with so many losses along the O-line, at the receiver position, at the tight end position, at the running back position, and he's gone up against a top 5 most difficult schedule of opposing pass defenses. That lightens up over the next half of the season until like they play the Saints much later in the season. Then it gets hard for a couple weeks. But until then, I think we see Carson Wentz play a lot better down the stretch.
Well, Warren, we will talk about now the dreck that is the NFC East for all intents and purposes. Have you seen a division this bad, and how likely do you think it is that the Eagles come out on top of this division?
Well, they control their destiny, and it's really good for them that, unfortunately, you're looking at backup quarterbacks on half of the division when you talk about the Dallas Cowboys and you talk about the Washington football team. And then you look at what's going on with the Giants. I mean, this is the next hurdle. If they can win this game, which they are favored to do so, if they can win this game and look past this team, I believe they don't play another divisional opponent until the tail end of the season. I don't think till Dallas Cowboys week 16 or so. So they've got a lot of non-divisional opponents. It's going to be a very difficult schedule. We're talking about teams like the Seattle Seahawks and the Green Bay Packers. The Cleveland Browns are no walkover either. The Arizona Cardinals mixed in there as well. It's not going to be easy down the rest of the way, but thankfully, I think their defense is starting to come around, but their offense is about ready to take off. I think they're in the driver's seat in this division for sure. They are the projected favorites. It's only if they slip up, cost themselves something, that they'll let somebody else take over. But I think if they live up to their potential, this is their division to lose.
Warren Sharp channeling his inner Tom Selleck with that mustache. I like it, sir. We appreciate your time. Look forward to speaking with you again.